Hi, I'm Dr. Jessica, and welcome to the first episode of the Results Room. Today we're here with Chad Bates of Near Me Roofing. And I worked with Chad a few years ago, and I wanted to have him on the podcast because I really respect what he's doing, not only in business, has a great partnership with his wife. He's a father, that he shows up for his family and his community. He really represents the type of guest that we want on this show.
Well, thanks for having me, and thank you for that introduction. Looking forward to having a conversation with you.
You started Near Me Roofing, but this wasn't your first contracting business. You were actually in another business before this. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was actually in landscaping and lawn care. I had that business started in 2015. I kind of had a partner at the time. Started as an idea. I was working a couple of jobs, and when we started that business, 2018, uh, I bought him out, and then I still worked a job for a couple of years after that. 2020, I just quit it all and went full fledged into that business. October 21 is when I started this roofing company, Near Me Roofing, and actually had both businesses up until the beginning of 24. At the end of 23, we got out of landscape and sold that off, and then just dove into this.
Yeah, when we started working together, I think you're right around the $3 million mark. Is that
Yeah,
accurate?
we were like I think a little bit above two, something like that. That was the end of 23.
Yeah,
When we started December of 23, right after RoofCon, because
yeah.
RoofCon was in November that year.
When we met there. Have you been able to grow the business since then?
This year we're looking at doing around 5 million. So
Amazing.
we've grown incrementally every year. Our main thing is just making sure we're profitable as we grow. We might end up a little bit over 5 million. That was our goal from the get go, and we're right on pace to do that.
Yeah, I remember when we met, that was something that was important because it's not just what you make, it's what you keep. We don't want to just pay our employees, we want to create a life and a legacy. When we started working together, Jessica really wasn't full time at the business yet. So she was just transitioning in, and you had another business partner. Can you talk about that transition of her into the business and how that happened?
It was kind of funny because when she started in the beginning of 24, she didn't know nothing about roofing. She didn't even really ask me. I would tell her stuff that was going on.
Yeah, so your new partner is your wife. I know that she's been such an asset. I referred when my clients have questions, I'm like, okay, you need to call Jessica. For only being in roofing for such a short time, she's such an example of how to run a business, like level of customer service, care for people, communication. I feel like the best partner you could get is her.
Obviously, she has a vested interest in that we do well. She worked in a hospital billing department for 7 years, and
Okay.
so when we had our landscape company, we were servicing sometimes 40 to 60 customers a day. So there was a lot more invoices then than what we actually deal with now. Because we might be doing a couple projects a day now. Obviously, they're bigger ticket items, and but yeah, she's really good with like admin tasks, and I matter of fact, I hate doing admin tasks. It's not fun to me. I don't enjoy it. So
That sounds like the dynamic between me and my fiance. He's the ultimate sales guy in life insurance, super amazing salesperson.
mhm.
But when it comes to his admin stuff, he hates it. So he's taught me so much about sales. I've been able to grow my business by implementing the things he's taught me about follow up. It's great to have that life partner that can meet you in life and business, having fun. That's amazing. When we met, I didn't have any of that. I was, single, and then I met my fiance, had a baby. I'm looking to some of my clients as the example. You're the first one I thought of. I was like, I've always seen you guys at soccer games. I just have the question of how do you balance family with you're running two businesses, you're working with Jessica. How do you balance everything?
At that time, it was a little bit harder. All three of our kids were in sports. My oldest one was playing baseball. Middle one's been in volleyball. And the youngest one was playing baseball and football at the time. Really, the only one we have in sports right now is the middle one. And so it's a lot easier now. Our sales manager has 4 kids. And so I just think about like the people that have multiple kids in sports and trying to balance a business. I used to coach my oldest son's baseball, and back when I had my landscape company, I actually think the year he was 12, I just decided I can't coach. I couldn't focus on growing the business and be a coach at the same time. So I kind of had to give that up. So there is a trade off you can make. I'm not saying you can't do both, but it
Yeah.
just depends on what you're trying to do and accomplish. But you can still be there. I've never missed a game of any of the kids. So I'm at every event, and like with the volleyball, I just enjoy it so much. Like I never want to miss those games.
Do you guys have your master schedule that you like try to stay super organized with?
Jessica's good with admin and stuff. Neither one of us, our schedules are that organized, but like we
Yeah.
just figure out how to make it work and make time for the things that matter. And now it's a lot easier because we've hired and we have a team of people to help us, so we're not like doing everything in the business. Right now, it's a lot easier to do that. Early on in a business, like I was answering the phone at baseball games and stuff like that, or returning phone calls. So I mean, that was just a common part of it. But, you can integrate both of them. You just have to have a cutoff time or a balance of how you do things.
Yeah. I remember when we first started working together, one of the things we did was we looked at all the activities that you were doing and how much time, how many hours a week you were spending on that. And we figured, okay, well, you're the admin, you're the project manager, you're the sales manager, you're the sales rep, you're pretty much you're everything. What's it been like to grow your team and to hand some of those things off? Has it been difficult? Has it been like you're wanting to take the responsibility back? How has that process been to scale?
Yeah, to go off what you're saying, like in that year 2023, I was the guy doing the invoices, the supplements, the pre-supplements, the final supplements,
Mm,
making sure we're getting stuff collected, those type of things. So I was doing a lot of admin work there. I really wasn't doing much sales even in that year. And I tell people, like, I never really done a ton of sales inside the business because I built it as a business from the get go. I mean, I've done sales and I've sold roofs. I'm not the occasional story of where you started out as a salesperson and build. I kind of built it to be a business from the get go. When Jessica came on in 2024, she was just like, how in the world was you doing all this? I was like, I don't know. I just got it done because she's seen how much there was involved in it. Because like at the landscape company, she had her list of stuff. Get this done by the day, and she was done with the day. That's a reoccurring revenue model. Whereas roofing, you're always selling. It's new customers after new customer coming in and going, so it's like a revolving door. I was like, this isn't our other company. It doesn't ever stop. That she would try to stay here till 6, 7 o'clock at night trying to get stuff done. And I had to tell her, I was like, you don't need to do that. I said, it'll be here tomorrow when you come back in because you're
yeah.
never going to get caught up. So, but yeah, that's kind of what it looked like. Now I do have a team. And so there's a lot of day to day stuff I don't do and I don't actually want to be involved in. But now I'm to the point I'm learning to what my role is. And my role is like, us having leadership huddle every morning, us having KPI scorecards that we're reviewing every day and every week,
Mhm.
us trying to hold people accountable and making sure they're getting everything done. I was just used to like doing tasks in the business. Now I'm trying to manage everybody and make sure they're doing their jobs. It's a different dynamic around here now for me and what my role is.
Yeah, so really shifting from the owner that does everything to a leader. I think that's a really important point that you brought up about accountability, that we're handing off these duties, but we're measuring that things are getting done through our numbers. So being able to track things, have performance meetings. I know that's something that we talked about is performance reviews and holding people accountable.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really great. I think sometimes in this industry, you give somebody an online training course, you send them out in the field, they fail, and we're like, oh, it's a, bad employee. But there's really like no great training process, there's no accountability. That's another thing that you're doing super well is you've essentially turned your office into a classroom. I'd love to hear about like the decision that why you guys are so focused on learning and some of the things that you guys are doing there.
Well, our model is we don't hire people with sales experience in roofing. Matter of fact, we kind of look at that as negative because there's been a couple of that we've hired that had experience and they just never work out. They just really never work out. But I didn't want to build that kind of model. You know, my brother's in roofing, and you know that, but his model for a while was like he picked up a lot of experienced guys because in their market there were so many companies, and you know over time he's realized that's not a good model because you know if they're a really good salesperson, they should have a bunch of jobs that are needing to be closed out where they're at, you know. So that's why we built our whole model off of training because we're getting people who are green. So we hire people with integrity, you know, because that's one of our core values is lead with integrity and then put customers first. And
Yeah.
so when we hire people, like we hire people that I always say like if I wouldn't hang out with you on the weekend, you're probably not going to work here, you
Hmm.
know, just because you got to mesh well with our existing team. You got to have good values. Like if you're out partying on the weekend, getting hungover, showing up late, like you're not gonna fit in here. Like you know, everybody that works here is either married, has kids. You know, they got their head on right, like they're trying to do great things in life, and they're not distracted by everything out there that can kind of take you off of a path of you know being successful. So we built a training program and now we're always changing stuff and trying to make it better. Today at 11 we actually have a training with our manufacturer Atlas, so he's actually coming to the office and doing a training and providing us lunch, and so the whole team's going to be here just a little bit after this.
I gave you Ignite's training material, and I tell all my clients, like, this is about 80% of the way done, and you've got to take
Mm-hmm.
it 100% with your branding and your manufacturer information. And within a week, you guys did it. Like, sometimes it's like 6 months into a client relationship, I'm like, hey, did you add your own content into Ignite's training? And everyone's like, no. But you guys took such initiative with even within that first week. I think that speaks a lot about like just your willingness to develop and grow your team.
Yeah, and actually, I remember from our conversation then, I can't remember how we were paying on company leads, but I think it was you that was like, hey, company leads, you need to pay a smaller commission on because you have your marketing budget and everything that's going into that. And so I think that was one of the first things we implemented. And then, like, the career path that you made for us,
Hmm.
and so having like the tier commission structure and the bonus structure. So we basically taken everything that you've given us and kind of built off of it, and but the foundation of what you did for us is still there.
Amazing. Yeah, that's what I love to hear. And I think like the company between 1 and 3 million, where I met you guys, is one version of a roofing company. And then the next phase is 3 to 8 million, which is where you guys are at right now. And then after 8 million, everything's going to change again. So, like growing and adapting, I always say like the owner should be spending 20% of their time just on innovating and growing the company. The industry's changing, private equity's coming in, the insurance game's changing, and like that's part of the owner's leadership is 20% of your time, which means essentially 1 day a week needs to be spent on learning and development.
I'm trying to spend like 2 hours a day where it's just me focusing on the business and growing the business. And it is changing, and we've changed a lot just over the last year, you know, because when we were working together, we were mainly insurance claims.
Mhm.
And I just looked at it last week, 40% of our jobs this year are insurance. So we
Oh,
have a lot of retail and repair model now, and we do a lot of financing.
mhm.
And just like you said, to kind of pivot from the insurance industry changing, we're having to change. And right now, we're actually fixing to start testing a virtual sales model of you know providing estimates over the phone. And so we have an inside salesperson now. She's been with us for like a month, and she is killing it. She actually sold a couple of roofs yesterday, and we've never met the person or anything. So
Yeah, I think that's cool. You have an estimating program like that.
no, so we actually, you know, last year I went to Cody Landell's office from Reimagine Roofing. And so we've basically taken his kind of virtual sales model and we're kind of using that as like a foundational piece and we're building off of that. So, you know, you know, you're getting the call in the morning, you're getting the measurements, building the estimate, presenting price in the afternoon via text message, and you're offering basically a good, better, and best, which we call our foundation preferred.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing a new generation of homeowners. The younger generation is now buying houses, and then their buying preferences are different. So if I think about like my parents or grandparents, they would never do that. But when I'm thinking about my brother who just bought a house, like that, they wanted to get quotes online before he ever met anyone.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about yesterday, actually, with like car sales. Because like when I buy a car now, I'm online. I find the car I want, and I'm going to the dealership to buy it. And as long as that thing, the wheels ain't falling off of it, there's something wrong with it. So, I don't. The days where you used to just drive to a dealership and you walk through and they're like, "Hey, we got this truck that might fit your that." I mean, that doesn't work for me. Like I already know what I want when I get there. I'm like, have the paperwork ready as long as you aren't trying to like fluff, add some price in there or something. So that's honestly, and everybody's busy now. So I
Mhm.
think, and then I think offering something different than all of our competitors in our area, I'm really excited to see what we can do with it.
Wanted to ask you about your core values. So
Mhm.
I know that's something that you brought up, and we worked together on building those. How has your core values shaped how you approach hiring, how you approach customers? Can you tell me about like how that influences your day to day?
When we first started working with you, I always knew that we needed core values and a mission statement, a vision statement, and those things. And I just didn't really know how to go about doing it. The thing that you kind of taught us was like you hire and fire by your core values. And
Mhm.
so, if we're sitting there interviewing someone, like, does this person, we have to ask ourselves, does this person, do they win in all areas of life? Do they lead integrity? Do they put customers first? Do they want to leave a legacy? Those type of things. And so it's like one of the questions we started asking was like, what are you doing right now for self improvement? So are they working out? Are they reading a book? Are they listening to any podcast? Because if they're not, it's kind of hard. If they're not doing it on their own, we're not going to just help them do it. Like they have to already be on that, trying to do better themselves, and we can just kind of help them along the way. So I
Mhm.
think the core values have been really huge with us, making sure that we are pouring those core values into them and getting them stuck in their heads. So every time they're out there with a customer or doing something, they're asking themselves, "Does this line up with our core values?" It's been huge for us. It was a good foundational piece that we were missing in our business at the time.
So you have them on your website. Like when you're doing your customer presentation, do you present your company core values to the customers?
Yeah, they're in our we. So Tiffany, so we hired Tiffany in like June or July, I think, of 24, and she's really helped us with a lot of like our presentation stuff and design because she has a marketing and design background, actually a degree, I believe. And so we have like a presentation folder that we go through with all of our homeowners, and the core values are in there. And so like one instance is like if there's a customer wanting us to eat their deductible, well, as or one of our core values is lead with integrity. So Miss Jones, we can't do that. It's just it goes against everything that we
Mhm.
believe. So it's just a foundational piece that you can use in the sales process. And most people, when we give them that sales presentation, I mean, we've had so many customers say, "We went with you because of your folder." I mean,
Okay.
and there's a lot of our uh, more experienced sales reps has been with us for a couple of years that really love that folder because they've seen it work. And so and that's another process is making sure that our salespeople aren't skipping steps and, because they think it's not important.
Yeah. Yeah, so it sounds like your core values have been integrated into like the hiring, firing, the training, and like just overall your brand, like how you present yourself to customers. So that's amazing. I love to hear that. Like culture and core values is something that's really important to me. Um, I had a question about more on the personal side of things. So, like with your wife as your business partner, how do you protect your relationship? How do you make sure that you have a relationship together that doesn't always revolve around work?
Yeah, well, I think with me and her, our dynamic is like we realize like work is work, and marriage is marriage, and our personal life. I mean, they're integrated. I mean, there's no way to get around it. Like it's who we are. Actually, in the early days, I would be working at like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and Jessica would be like, when are you gonna stop working? Are you gonna cut it off at some point or whatever?
Mhm.
Well, now it's kind of flipped in like the last year where she's like working at night, and I'm telling her to like, hey, you need to just, it'll be there tomorrow. Let's just stop working, you know. So we've gotten a lot better. Like we're pretty good at like cutting it off and having that space and time for family. And you know, occasionally we have a disagreement at work, but like we're not the kind that holds grudges. Like we just look at it as work, and we get home and we act like nothing happened. So we just treat business as business, and we and that's what's helped us, I think, in our business overall, especially with our employees. Is like, you know, you can get really emotionally attached to your employees because they do start to become like family,
Mhm.
and so it's harder to have those conversations. But when you say, hey, this is strictly business, it's not personal, you know, I got to do it this way, you know. And so
Mhm.
that was one of the best changes too that we made in our company is like, hey, it's black and white. It's this is business, this is personal, and we do that kind of in our own personal life too. So I think we work well together. Now, in the future, I think Jessica would like to be able to not have to work every day, and you know, we might work towards that eventually, but it's we're not thinking about it right now.
Yeah. Once the business stabilizes and maybe rehire her position. That's a great goal, I think. Yeah, I definitely admire you guys for, yeah, you're the first ones I thought of like who, like with the results room, who do I want to represent? Like somebody like showing up and like living wholeheartedly and raising a family, marriage, business, like all the things. I mean, you make it look easy. So,
Well, you know, everything's easy when you're seeing the highlights on Facebook, right? Stuff like that. But I mean, we're you know, me and my wife are a pretty good match, and like we're both easygoing. Now, I will say from like a business perspective, I was always real more optimistic than her, and she's more realistic or pessimist. Like so, like when I would hire somebody, she'd be like, "They're not gonna make it. They're not." I'm like, how do you know? Just telling you, they're not gonna make it. Like so, and then we had this joke for a while that I couldn't do hiring without her, Tiffany, one of them, in the interview, so they could see, you know. And then now we have our sales manager Justin, and he's real optimistic like me, and so now they joke around with him, and they're like, maybe we need to set in on the interview with this person, you know. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, I'm a lot. I am optimistic. I am. I've gotten a lot better with that, but it is kind of funny to get more than one perspective on somebody.
yeah. Uh, you guys in the interview process, you guys use the scoring system? I know that's something that I always recommend, like having multiple people like score them across different dimensions.
Yeah, so we haven't got away from that 100%, but like we try to do so now. Our interview process is like most of ours come from Indeed. In our area, Indeed is really big. We've done some Facebook ads and stuff, but we tend to have really good results with Indeed. And so our process now is if we find someone we like on Indeed, we send them a video link. We do like a quick 15-minute introduction. Now we also have these videos that we send to them about the position and
Hmm.
those type of things like, hey, here's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
No, because if that's part of the questions they had in the interview, they might call us and say, "Hey, I don't want to do the interview. It's not a fit for me." So it
Hmm.
saves us time. And then once they get past that initial video interview, they'll come in for an in-person interview. And now I've kind of given Justin a lot of leeway with that. But if it's a key hire, they're getting interviewed normally by Justin, by me, by Jessica. So it's a little bit more. It's kind of like a dating. And when we hired Justin, we actually went to dinner with his wife.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because she was real protective of him because I think it's because he's so optimistic. She was like, one that, hey, I got to meet these people too because I want to make sure, you know, you're not getting into, because he came from food sales. He worked with like Cisco and
Okay.
Tankersley and stuff like that. But it really transitioned well for him. But yeah, so that's normally how our interview process looks. it's not exactly the same for like our W-2 people as it is like our 1099 salespeople, but do we have it perfect? No. I mean, we still screw up all the time, but I think that's part of it. That's like part of the fun. It's like you you hire people. Well, and it's like I interviewed one of our newer salespeople the other day that's had really good success with this. And one thing I said to him on the interview was like, hiring you reminds me why we hire people because you hire some and you're like, man, hiring sucks. There's no good people out there, and then you hire this one person, then that reminds you why you do it. And so I think when it comes to hiring, people do it for a little bit and it don't work out, and they just say it don't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
I mean, the average turnover rate for a roofing sales rep is 70% in the first month if there's no hiring and onboarding process.
Yeah. And I think, and to go off of that, one thing that you did help us with that has been really instrumental is hiring more than one person at a time.
Hmm.
Now, occasionally we still do that, but and we found it very successful because we'll hire, normally we try to do three at a time.
Yeah, that's
We know if we do three, probably one of them is going to stick for a little while. You always have one that drops off in the first week or two, sometimes the first day. And so we've done that, and that's been pretty successful for us is hiring multiple people at once.
yeah. It definitely cuts down on training. Like if you're doing classroom training to
Mhm.
train multiple people, yeah. Yeah, I think the magic number is three. Like if you're under 5 million, I think the magic number is three. Over 5 million, if there's more support in the field, it's just really hard, like more than three people getting field support if the team isn't big enough to support all those people. Yeah. So amazing. Okay. So a few more questions. Like, what do you want to accomplish in the next year? Is there anything that within your business?
98% of all of our business is residential. We're still a big residential sales company. Going into next year, we're probably wanting to add a commercial side to our business as we're, getting this kind of figured out, just to kind of help grow sales and opportunity, and especially what you talked about with the insurance industry changing. Now, like in our area, we don't get direct storms, but we get some pocket storms that we work, and that's why we haven't had as many storm related claims and jobs. But like going into next year is really just refining our processes and our SOPs and really building out more of a retail style model.
Mm-hmm.
And then slowly adding a commercial side to our business is probably like what 27 is going to be.
Yeah. Okay. So commercial like TPO or like coatings or all of it, maintenance.
Yeah, yeah, basically all of it essentially. Now we do it now, but we don't have like it's not segmented because it's two different total like commercial and residential are
Mhm.
way like that's two different sides of the coin. Like it's a totally different business model. And I think a lot of times with companies I see is they try to do everything out of the get go. And I think that's one thing that's really helped us is we've still roofing is our because when you're in contracting, like you can go so many different avenues, but like just focusing on roofing because it's you're in and out in the day most of
Mhm.
the time. If as long as the customer's happy, you get paid, and then you're on to the next one. There's no long sales cycle on
Yeah.
the residential side, but when you get into commercial, like you might bid a job and then you're not doing it for 18 months. So it's a
Mm.
totally different animal.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's smart. Like even structuring the way that salespeople are trained. I mean, and then the commission structure has to be different too,
Hmm.
because the amount of risk that the company's taking on. I see like people trying to do like a 10-50-50 on commercial, and it just like I mean the liability from OSHA, the liability of sub crews and other vendors. I mean it just and then the salesperson's role is so much smaller in a commercial job than in a residential job that's a day. So and there's so much more that has to come from the office. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's. I was actually talking to another roofer and owner. Actually, I think you know him, Murray.
Yeah, that's my client.
He was talking about like these guys are out there, bidding. commercial jobs at 35, 40%, but most of them are sold between 20 and 25% margin. So the ticket is higher, but the margins are smaller. And so you can't pay a sales rep 10% on a commercial job, you know. Uh, that's almost what the company makes. So yeah, it's a totally different sales cycle, a model. It's a
Mhm.
different customer. You're
Mhm.
dealing with boards and multiple owners and the manager who has no power, you know. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
different. So
Uh, so I have a question about legacy. I know that's one of your core values.
mhm.
So what do you want your kids to learn from watching you and Jessica build this business together?
Yeah, it's funny that you asked that because our kids like we work all you know they know like especially right now summer's out and like with the kids they know we work for ourselves but we constantly have to tell them like yeah we work for ourselves but that doesn't mean we can just take off and come hang out with y'all all day you know and I would say that that's something Jessica probably struggles with a little bit more than me because she wants to, you know, the kids are out in summer. She wants to spend time with them and do things with them, be a good mom, obviously. But like with them, they've seen us, you know, they were here with us when we started and now they've seen what it's become. I think they think we're rich or something now. They think we have like millions of dollars or something somewhere hidden in some bank account. But they see us work, our work ethic, and they know how much we put into it. And they've seen the fruits of it, like, you know, as our lifestyles changed a little bit, you know. And I think with them, I think just them seeing us work hard and pour ourselves into something and doing something on our own and making something our own. And we're basically we're hoping that they learn from it that they can do anything they put their mind to in life because really I mean if you can put your mind to it and work hard enough and learn and I think now it's easier than it's ever been with I mean, we're having a video call right now. I mean, so it's just it's a totally different dynamic than when I was and me and you. Like when I tell kids all the time, like you know, our kids they're spoiled. They want to go eat out every night. You know, why can't we go eat out every night? It's just like when I was growing up as a kid, that wasn't even a thing. That was special occasions. So it's just it's a different dynamic. Our kids are very blessed, you know, to well, just financially and you know I grew up and Jessica grew up our family didn't have a lot of money and so it's just one of those things is like them seeing them knowing where we came from and that nobody helped us we did it all nobody gave us a dime you know we built everything on our own and so I think them seeing that hopefully they're not as hard-headed as we think they are and eventually they'll get it you know and they'll take something from it.
We have a lot of similarities the way that we grew up too. My mom was sick when I was growing up, and then a lot of our finances, my dad had his own business, but it went to pay for medical bills. She didn't have health insurance back then. And so, yeah, I've been starting my own business, and then my fiance, he has his own business. We're doing well. One thing we've implemented is that the kids have to pay for half of their toys. So we have an 8-year-old and like he's really into squishies right now. That's like the new fad. Like
Yeah.
squishies and Pokemon cards and he asks for them every day. And so we're like, okay, you get your allowance every week and you got to pay for half of these things. And so because of that, he's like, all right, let's get on Facebook Marketplace and he like found like a deal on these squishies and so he's learning to budget and he takes ownership and taking care of his toys and learning those lessons like we've tried to instill instead of just being like okay we have the means you can have whatever you want and so and he'll come home he's like there's kids on the bus they're spoiled they get whatever they want they don't have to pay for their toys it's like there's like a pride there that we're teaching him
Oh
so
yeah, that's huge. You know, with our kids, like if they're wanting something, like there's always something around the house to get done, and so that's the benefit to the kids being home in the summer is like we don't have to do our laundry and our dishes very much. We make them do it. So
yeah that's nice. Yeah, we have like an extra like chore chart that if they want to earn money, it's like reading books, they can earn money, and our 8-year-old can like take out the trash. that's gone terribly wrong. Like I come downstairs, he's like, I took it out, and there's like a trail of trash around. I'm like, oh gosh, buddy.
Yeah, yeah, that it's cheap labor, cheap labor.
So for the if when we talk again, I mean, hopefully we'll talk before this, but if we talk again in a year, what do you think would define success? I know you're like, hey, we want the maintenance or the commercial division to grow, but like if you had like real numbers or real results to look at in a year and say this was a success because we met this metric or measurable, is there anything that you can point to?
Yeah, I mean, so I think we're gonna obviously hit our top line revenue goal for the year. For me, it's like hitting our net profit goal that we're trying to hit would be a success for me.
Hmm.
I feel like we got the right team in place as far as like the amount of overhead that like I think we could be in that 6-7 million range and not have to add a whole lot of people really. And so for me, it's making sure that we have the top line revenue, the net profit that we want to hit, but also that like as far as like our marketing and our branding and everything's still on point. Because that's one thing we've done really good in our community is a lot of people can't believe that we've only been in business, for 3 or 4 years, like full time actually doing this, and so because we're up there, like we're in the names with all the guys that have been around for like 30 years, so we've done really well with that. So I think for me is like just having a really good team, meeting our top line revenue goals, our net profit goals, and then everybody like for me, I want people to enjoy working here too. Like that's not really something you can measure on a spreadsheet, you know. So to me, that's a win too. Is like having a place where everybody likes to come to work. We're challenging people. They're getting better. They're making more money. They're doing more stuff with their family. Like I like it. One of our sales people sent me a message or a picture last night. I told him about this really nice restaurant in town. I said, "Hey, it's expensive, but he's sending me pictures of the plate and everything. He's like, it's worth it, man. This is awesome." One thing we've done here over some of our competitors is we've actually created employment opportunities and jobs and stuff like
Hmm.
that because we're one of the only companies in our area that has a marketing director and an office manager and an actual sales manager. I mean, there's a lot that don't. So we create a lot of opportunities. So that's something that I think is huge.
Yeah. So going back to the win in all areas of life and like
Mm-hmm.
creating those opportunities. And I know that was part of like your vision statement as well is, enriching the community and building a team where everyone wins.
Yeah, exactly. Because if at the end of the day, if that's employed by us and that's working on our team is winning, then we're winning. It's just a
Mhm.
byproduct.
Yeah. Well, today has been an amazing conversation. I appreciate you so much sharing about your business, about your life. You're so inspirational for the industry and what you've done in such a short period of time, like going from, 2.5 to 5 million since we've worked together, and just your commitment and your intention to be the best version of yourself and to build a business that represents that as well. I appreciate you so much for being here.